Most people think the difference between reactive, responsive, and predictive behavior is just emotional maturity. But it's deeper. It's the architecture of your cognition, and if you understand it, you can outperform 90% of people without ever raising your voice. Let's start at the bottom. Reactive behavior. Reactive people live in a state of cognitive debt. Every stimulus hits them with full force. A rude comment, a delay, a text that feels off. Like, why did she only include one Y instead of two? And they discharge energy instantly. Psh! They're not choosing their behavior. They're being operated by stress. Watch how they argue. They answer the last question, not the actual issue. They're waiting for you to finish speaking. Watch how they date. They choose whoever stimulates them and run from whoever demands depth. Watch how they work. Deadlines manage them instead of the other way around. Reactive behavior is cheap because it requires no model of the world. It's pure reflex, like a coyote or a chimpanzee, but less like a chimpanzee because chimpanzees actually consider the consequences of their action. Muscle memory of the nervous system is what it is. It's the repetitive action. And the brain is made of fat, not muscle, so I don't know why you're treating it like a muscle. Responsive behavior. This is the people who occupy most of the spaces that probably employ most of you. Responsive people are the first ones to actually interpret the impulse. They buy themselves a nanosecond of agency. That tiny gap is where emotional regulation lives. It's where communication architecture kicks in, and it's where an adult replaces a child. Responsive behavior says, pause, choose the move that preserves my position. It's not passive. It's almost tactical. It's the awareness that your time, your attention, and your reactions all have an economic cost. And we're not talking about finance. People think responsive people are calmer. No, their incentives are clearer. No, they make decisions like investors instead of reactors. They understand compounding. The cost of a bad reaction isn't the reaction. It's the cascade that follows. Responsive is the difference between someone who fights battles and someone who chooses battlefields or hires soldiers. And here's where we get to the axiom. Predictive behavior. Predictive behavior is the highest form because it runs on anticipation and not reaction. Reactive people ask, what just happened? Responsive people ask, what do I do now? Predictive people ask, what is the chain of incentives unfolding in this area? Predictive behavior is where social cognition turns into a superpower. You're reading people not for their words, but for their trajectory, for their patterns, their defaults under stress, their tells, their habits of avoidance, their habits of aggression. Predictive people don't need to be dominant. They just see the board 10 seconds sooner. And predictive people generally are not even more capable of being dominant than responsive people. It's just that predictive people did some forethought. Someone who's reactive thinks you're intimidating. Someone who's responsive thinks you're impressive if you're being predictive. Someone who's predictive recognizes you instantly because you think in the same time scale that they do. They're not judging you, and they're not intimidated by you. They see you. And, maybe seeing people in social interactions is actually a good thing to do. Maybe, just maybe. Predictive behavior almost looks supernatural because it prevents problems before they're visible. You're not lucky. You're operating in a higher time frame. This is how you avoid drama, you avoid traps, you avoid bad deals, and you build relationships with people who actually move. Predictive behavior is the difference between people who navigate life and people who design it. Reaction burns energy. Reactive burns energy. Responsive conserves it. Predictive directs it. Most people never graduate from the first level. But if you're here, you're already climbing. Welcome to Axiom. Thank you, guys.